Alright, so we're gonna continue with our introduction. I'm gonna start with a new document. So I will need my document structure, my HTML5 document structure. So from this point on, we're gonna start using external JavaScript files. Okay, so this one is going to be my file functions.javascript. So I'll need another file, language, JavaScript. This is functions. Okay. So far we have seen variables, right? We can declare variables. We know that we have strings. So for example, name equals John. We can have numbers such as age equals 35, right? So this is a type integer. We can have numbers of type floats, right? So floats, for example, we said amount equals $65.32, 65.32. Yeah, so we're declaring for the first time. Remember to use var at the beginning. Okay, this is really a formality because JavaScript is not so strict. If you forget to add the var, the prefix var at the beginning when you're declaring a variable, it's still gonna work. Okay, but the best practice is to add var at the beginning, just to know that we are declaring for the first time our variable. Okay. We learned how to concatenate. For example, full name equals name plus space plus last name. Okay. Remember to add a semicolon at the end of each line. That's also very good practice. If you forget, it's gonna work, but add it. Okay, there's other scripting languages like PHP, for example. If you do not have the semicolon, everything breaks. So get used to it. Always put a semicolon. Okay, so variable full name equals name plus last name. Okay, and this is just declaring variables. If I look into my file, I have nothing in the body. Here there's just variables, nothing's happening. Okay, run in Firefox, and here we go, nothing is happening. There's absolutely nothing in there. Okay, so now we're gonna see into a new type of data type, which is arrays. And basically arrays, they allow us to save many values inside one single variable. Okay, and the way to declare arrays is by saying variable, the name of your array. So I'm going to create an array for cars equals new array. So that's the way to declare a variable, to declare an array. Yeah, and then since it's an array, okay, it's an object basically. We have a new array. It's basically what this means is that cars is an instance of array. There is a class array in object-oriented programming. We're creating a new instance of type array, yeah, named cars. So cars will behave as an array. Okay? It's like saying that there is a class human. Okay, this does not exist. I'm just explaining here that if there was something of class human, and I'm gonna create a new human. So for example, variable Peter equals a new human. It's something like that. Okay, that's object-oriented programming. We're not going to see that yet, but that's what it means. That's why we have new. Okay, it's a new var array. Alright, so that's to declare the array. Now to initialize it, I can then say cars equals, right? And I can add, for example, a bunch of cars inside. Audi, Ford, Mercedes, BMW, I don't know, Mazda, whatever. Okay, and if I want to get the value of each one of them, I have to understand that there is positions. For example, the position for Audi is position 0. The position for Ford is position 1. The position for Mercedes is position 2. BMW 3 and Mazda 4. Okay, arrays, they always start on position 0. So I'm going to alert Mercedes. So I just add alert, the name of my variable, between square brackets the position. So Mercedes is position 2. I add 2. So that will give me back the value of cars in position 2. Mercedes. Right? I'm just alerting the variable in position 2. If I would like to get Mazda, then I will have to change 244 because that is the position of Mazda. And I get Mazda. Now if I try to jump, for example, to position 7, I do not have anything in position 7. Undefined. There is nothing at position 7. So sometimes when we are adding things to an array, the program is, let's say, dynamic, and it keeps on adding things. And it's difficult for us to keep track of how many items we have added. So for that, there is a method called push. And push will automatically insert into the array the next element in the right position. Okay? For example, after I'm done with Audi, Ford, Mercedes, BMW, and Mazda, I can say cars dot push, and now I'm gonna push inside Honda. Right? Honda will then become position 5 automatically. So if I alert position 5, I get Honda. Okay? I can always manually add positions. For example, the next one will be position 6. Let's say Volkswagen. So I'm going to alert 6. It's Volkswagen. But if I choose a number that is already being used, for example, Ford is in position 1. I say cars 1 equals Volkswagen. I'm going to replace the value of Ford. Ford will no longer be there. Cars 1 now becomes Volkswagen. Ford is gone. To show you, I'm going to comment the line of Volkswagen, and I should have Ford instead. Ford. But since I am changing the value of position 1 to Volkswagen, Ford is gone. Now I have Volkswagen. Alright, so I can keep on adding things. For example, after that I can push here. I don't know, Kia. Volvo. Renault. Etc. What is the position now that we have? Well, I had 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. I added Honda 5. This is position 5. Volkswagen is actually replacing position 1, so that is not adding anything. Kia position 6. Volvo position 7. Renault position 8. So now if I alert position 8, I should see Renault. Right? If I alert position 7, I will see Volvo. Okay? So let's say that I have this list of cars. I have an array of cars, and I want to show them in my website inside a list. Number 1 for Audi, number 2 Ford, etc. So I can go inside HTML now, create a list, and I have many options. Many. The first one would be to write inside the body script type text JavaScript. And now that I have my script ready, I can start writing, showing in HTML each variable. So document dot write, and I'm going to write HTML combined with each array value. So I'm going to write a list, open close list, and inside the list I am going to add, so I'm going to concatenate the array, for example, cars position 0. I am able to access cars because they are declared inside functions at line 7, so they already exist. Right? The variable is already declared and initialized. It has values. So if I preview that, I see Audi. Alright, so then we're printing Audi. If I want to go for all the others, right, I will have to like do something like that. How many I have? Till 8, which means 7 times, right? I start at position 0. So the length of the array is 8. Sorry, is 9. But the last position is 8. Why the length is 9? Because I have 9 elements inside. They start at position 0. They finish at 8. But I have 9 values. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm going to add a 9th one just to see what's going to happen. Refresh. All of them are there, but the 9th one is undefined. I didn't yet add a value for the 9th position. If I had a longer array, for example, cars dot push, and I'm going to push all of them again. Many times. So basically I have a lot of cars, right? I don't want to keep on doing document.write forever. And that is when something called loops come in handy. So a loop is basically a tool that we have to make an action many times, to repeat something many times. And the format for the loop is starting with a for. Then we need to initialize a variable, usually I, commonly known as I. Okay, in loops, I is the most common variable to start to assign for a loop. Equals the position where I want to start my loop. I want to start at position 0 because I want to start printing from the position 0 of my cars, right? I want to do this while I is smaller than a certain number that determines the length of my array. For example, I have 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, plus 0, 25. I have 25 cars. So I'm going to do my loop from I all the way to 25. Okay? Starting at position 0, while I is smaller than 25. Why do I say while I is smaller than? Well, because every time the loop goes by, I'm going to increment I by 1. Plus plus means increment I by 1. So the first time will be 0. The second time plus plus will be 1. Next will be 2. So it will be doing this until I reaches 25. The moment that I is equal to 25, it will stop. So basically it will do it from 0 to 24, which is 25 times, including 0. Okay, so we're gonna try this. Execute my loop. And I just got Audi. I did this 25 times, but I only got the first value. And that is because I am doing it 25 times, showing the position at car 0. Right? If we are saying that I changes every time, the first time is 0, the second time is 2, the second time is 1, the third time is 2, so on and so forth. Then I can change 0 for I, meaning the first time will be 0, Audi. The second time will be 1, Ford. Well, actually Volkswagen. The third time, Mercedes, BMW, and it will continue like that. So I will increment every time that the loop goes by. Okay? Now let's say that I didn't count properly and I thought that I had 27, not 26. I wrote 27. Undefined. Let's say that actually I was still coding, I was still adding some elements to my array, and I added 4 more. Which means that this will work, but I'm still missing, after Mazda, I'm still missing Kia, Volvo, Renault. So in order to assure that I'm going to show all my elements, I can always use cars as the limit with the attribute length, which means that it will do the loop as long as I is smaller than the length of my array. The length of my array is the number of elements inside. If my array goes from position 0 to position 4, the length is 5, because I have 5 elements inside. In this case, I'm going to alert cars length before. I'm going to alert it here. Alert cars dot length. Because I don't want to count them. Okay. Up, undefined. What's happening? Okay, I have 30 cars from position 0 to position 29. Okay, the length is 30, but I have until position 29. So Renault is at position 29. Let's change our unordered list for an ordered list. So it will automatically add the number 1, 2, 3, 4. 30, and in fact I have 30. In the case that I actually want to see the real position of the array that I'm printing, for example in the HTML, it starts at 1, it finishes at 30, because HTML is doing it for me automatically. It's an ordered list. If it was an unordered list, it gives me bullets. That's HTML who's generating the numbers. Okay? If I want to generate those numbers myself, I can use I instead. So I'm going to get rid of the list. No more list. Instead of the list, maybe a division. Okay, so there I have no numbers, it's just 1 by 1. And if I want to show the number, I will have to do it manually. So the division will have, for example, 1 or 2 or 3, right? I'm going to replace that number for I. I increments by itself. So this will be I. Now I here is part of my string. If I do that, I'm only going to see I. So I want to use the value of I. So I need to concatenate inside my string the value of I. So I have to start my string, finish my string, add I, and then add the rest of the string. So I have division I string plus the variable of the cars plus the end of the string, which is the closing division tag. Then I will see the numbers of I. It starts at position 0 because I is initialized at 0, and it finishes at position 29. This is a very common practice, to add I and show the numbers. But for us, I mean, we are not computers. We do not count from 0. We count from 1. So a very common trick as well, when you print, you can add 1. Now there is too many pluses there. In order to make the computer understand that I want to add as an operation, mathematical operation, I put between parentheses. So it's going to solve first I plus 1, and then once getting that result, will concatenate with the rest of my string. So instead of starting from 0 now, it will start from 1. And every time I gets plus 1, finishing at position 30. So again, now we have seen integers, floats, how to concatenate. We can concatenate strings with strings, strings with numbers, right? In terms of numbers, we have to make sure that we're using floats or integers. If we want to change from a string to a number, from a string to an integer, parse int. From a string to a float, parse float. Okay? So there is parse int that will convert to an integer, and there is parse float that will convert to a float. We can convert integers to floats and floats to integers using the same function. Okay? And finally, we finish with the arrays. Arrays are variables that take many values inside. We can push those values. We can assign them independently by their position. We can change the value by the position. Okay? And when we use arrays, the best way of going through all of them, if, for example, printing each one of them, is using a loop. A loop starts from a position using variable I. It's going to continue looping until I reaches a specific value, in this case the length of my array cars, how many elements I have inside. And the second part, I++, means increment by 1. It will increment by 1 on each loop. So starts at 0, the next time will be 1, the second time will be 2, third, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way until it reaches the length of my array. Plus plus actually modifies the value. Okay? I'm gonna go back here to my integers. I have the age 35. If I say at the end of my array, after my loop, okay, after I'm done with my loop, I'm going to say the age, document dot write. The age of John, or of name, in 2013 is age, right? Age, the value of age is 35. So John in 2013 is 35 years old. the age of John in 2013 is 35. I can say now age equals age plus 1, which means changing the value of age to the previous value plus 1. So 35 plus 1 equals 36. So now if I print the same line, right? And then instead of 2013 I say 2014, the age of John in 2014 will be 36. By the way, it's writing it everything in the same line because I do not have a break. I can just add here document.write a break. Okay. So age equals age plus 1 changes the value of age. Well, it turns out that age plus plus does the same thing. We'll change the value of the variable. That's why I plus plus changes the value of I. It's initialized at 0. I plus plus will keep on changing the value. The age of John in 2014 will be 36. Right? If I do age plus plus several times, I'm changing the value. So 35, 36, 37, 38, 39 in 2014 will be 39. Age plus plus changes the value. On the other hand, I know that up to here now is 39. Right? If I take here age and I add plus 1, plus 1 does not change the value. Plus 1 will change the value in the moment that I'm using it, but it will not replace the value of the variable. I see 40, but if I print, I'm going to give a space, a break, and I'm going to print again the same line without the plus 1, just age. Okay, age plus plus here changes the value. Age plus 1 doesn't change the value. So at line 24, age is 39. Here I'm going to print 40, but the actual value remains 39. So here I should see 39. So I went up to 40, but back to 39 because I didn't change the value of age. Yes. For instance, instead of writing age plus 1 here, I'm going to have age plus plus. Now I'm changing the value. I'm still going to see 40 on line 25, but line 27 will change to 40 because I'm using age plus plus. I'm changing the value of age. 40. Okay, here I printed 39 but changed the value to 40. The other way, age plus 1, only in this line 25 will show 40 but will not change the original value. So the original value remains at 29. Okay, so be careful when you use plus plus. It's a very useful tool, but remember that plus plus will change the value. of your variable.